going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 72 of the RXP podcast, the podcast where three working professionals talk all about their love of movies, TV shows, and video games. Today, my name is Matt, and I am, of course, joined by Alex.
God of War Ragnarok is a great game.
Ooh, yes it is. Well, at least the part that I've played, at least. And Tiffany.
You know what? That little indie game, God of War Ragnarok, is pretty good. I think I agree with that.
Yeah, like I think Sony Santa Monica might make it. Like
Yeah.
I think that the overlords of Sony might look down on their small studio and think, hey, let's keep them around.
Yeah.
Let's keep them around. At least put them in the indie category, for Game Awards and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they get a couple wins there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of indie games and speaking of Game Awards, today is all about the 2022 Game Awards presented by Jeff Keighley and I'm guessing his gang of people that do it.
Game Awarders,
Game Awarders, yes. We are educated, I promise. So all those Game Awarders came up with a bunch of categories and a bunch of nominees that were nominated by, I believe, media.
Yeah, their peers and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, peers, media. Did we nominate these, like, people, just in general?
No,
I think it was just media and games,
nominees
journalists
are only the journalists and media, and then voting is both media and fans.
Gotcha. So, we are going to run through 12 different categories, the three of us. Categories that we actually care about. So sorry to esports anything. We probably won't be talking about you this entire episode except for right now. This is going to be our prediction podcast. So we are going to try our best to get into the mind of the people, be one with the people, and figure out who is going to win the game and maybe who we want to win the game. But we're gonna see who gets it. And I think last year we tried to come back to it. I don't know if we ever figured out who was the winner. I don't think so, right, guys?
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think we never did a recap. We just kind of moved on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to.
We're all winners.
We're going to come back. We're going to come back to this, and at least maybe in an episode when we were talking about like what's that one game that we're playing? We just talked about, Tiffany.
God of War Ragnarok?
No, not that game. Sorry. I probably should have said it better. Fantasy Critic.
Oh,
Basically.
yeah, Fantasy Critic.
Yeah, when we come back to talk about God of War Ragnarok, we'll talk about... No, when we talk about Fantasy Critic, maybe we will just see who wins the prediction podcast.
Yeah, that could be a mashup.
Yeah,
it could be.
That'd be fun. I mean, I'm in the lead right now, so spoiler alert, but that probably won't last very long. We'll see. There's still a lot more games coming out.
Spoiler alert. You're going to see it.
You can follow us on fantasycritic.games and look for RXP podcast if you want to look at our league standings.
Yeah, please do.
Excellent.
It's fun.
Excellent plug. The great thing about Fantasy Critic is that no matter what, I'm still going to be on the podium. Like, I still will get a bronze medal no matter what. Like, unless someone from the community joins in and becomes a fourth member next year, like I will 100% get bronze again next year. It's great. But enough about that. We're going to jump right in. And the first category that we're going to talk through is Best Adaptation. So this is looking at a video game franchise that has been adapted to movie, TV shows. Those nominees are Arcane, League of Legends, Cyberpunk Edgerunners, The Cuphead Show, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and Uncharted, the movie. Alex, looking at this list, how many of these have you watched?
So I want to start this off, this is a great category to start with because I think this is the only category we're going to talk about today where I've actually experienced every nominee.
Excellent.
So
awesome.
I went ahead and recently I watched the first 2 episodes of the Cuphead Show. They're typically shorter episodes. They're more cartoon style, so 10 to 12 minutes per episode. So I was able to, spare a half hour for that. And I watched the first 2 episodes of Cyberpunk Edgerunners. So that was kind of my foray into that. And then I've completely watched Uncharted, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and Arcane. So I feel like I'm most qualified to talk about this category out of any category today.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say, in my heart and what I'm going to predict. So I want to give every one of these a shout out, but I'm just going to start off with it. It's going to be Arcane. This
okay. Yes.
out of these nominees, this is obviously
P.
the best adaptation, mostly because I think it does the great job of both translating what fans of the game might know of the characters, stuff like Jinx, Caitlyn, Vi, Jace, and representing their abilities in the show, but also just creating a show that anyone can watch, even if you don't play the game. And I think that's the biggest draw, because I would never recommend League of Legends to anyone to play, but I think the show itself is so amazing. And also, what a great art style, right? Like, this is very unique. I haven't watched anything like it, and it just gives it some extra personality. But the thing is, on top of that, equally as unique, Cyberpunk Edgerunners and the Cuphead show, both of these amazing visuals, for the Cuphead show, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's, reproducing what the game looks like. So it's like a combination of hand-drawn animation and 3D elements. Looks really good. Same thing with Cyberpunk Edgerunners. It's Studio Trigger, who's done anime such as Kill la Kill and Darling in the Franxx, also very striking art style. So it's like very entertaining to watch. The thing is, I would say these don't really make it because I don't think they do a great job in translating the games to the show. Like, these are great shows by themselves, but I don't think they don't take the step enough to say you'll probably want to play the game just based off the show, because I think they're so different in the stories they're telling, especially with Cuphead, because I know, right, Matt, Cuphead and Mugman don't talk, right? They don't have voices in the game.
No, it's usually just subtitles.
Right. And they have voices in the show, and it's weird to me to, grasp and understand their personalities, because they really don't have any in the game besides their, emotive
gestures.
Yeah, visuals. Yeah. So kind of them applying what to me sounds like a New York accent to both of them is very strange. And then also for Cyberpunk, I mean, I don't know if there's a English dub, but I'm watching in Japanese, and so it's kind of strange to play this game in or watch the anime in Japanese while the game's all in English. But it's a good show, just doesn't do the translation well. And just to shout out Sonic and Uncharted, I think they're both good movies, and that's about it. These are obviously different properties, compared to the games, and while they are good, Jim Carrey obviously in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, great as Dr. Robotnik, and Tom Holland as the titular, Nathan Drake in Uncharted, not bad as well. But I think, they're just fine. So Arcane is just by far the best.
See, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is weird because Jim Carrey might be taking a leave indefinitely from acting.
Like retiring.
And so this might be Jim Carrey's last movie, which is wild to me.
And I'd say it's very fitting, because the way they tease the end of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which is confirmed to be, in production coming out. I mean, not to say you don't need Robotnik, but they have a very obvious next villain to be present in the movie. So I think he'll be, easily not supplanted, but, I'll be okay with him not being Robotnik anymore. Though I will miss him.
See, so I think the interesting thing about Best Adaptation is that I think it's going to start to get even more interesting with the popularization of video game TV shows, which really has taken a foothold. Because honestly, video game movies, we had a whole episode about this, about how trash they are. And so I feel like Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Uncharted kind of go off on the wrong foot. I've watched episodes of Arcane and the Cuphead show, and while Arcane did not hit with me at the time that I was watching it, it's been on my list of Netflix shows to go back to. You can't deny the zeitgeist that Arcane had. If you look at all of our videos on youtube.com, RXP podcast, come check us out. The one and only huge hit in our entire library was Arcane. And while I try not to take that personally, because it's like the only episode I've never not been on, So maybe it's just that they love the two of you together. But honestly, I think it's just because Arcane is huge. It's huge. And if Arcane doesn't win this, I will be shocked. So shocked. Tiffany, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. So for me, I've experienced Arcane and then Uncharted. I love League of Legends. I played a lot of it. I'm now very casual with the game, so it's kind of hit or miss for me. But I absolutely adored the adaptation. It brought back characters that I really like. It brought characters that I didn't give any ish about, and made me sympathetic
She's
towards
talking
them.
about
like,
Heimerdinger.
No, I love Heimer. Are you kidding me? I love Heimerdinger. And so, basically when I whipped out the old mouse and keyboard to play the game again, because I got so into it after watching Arcane, I did not choose, I got rolled into, Victor, and I didn't, choose to be nah, I don't want to play this guy. I was like, you know what? Let me play this guy. He's in Arcane. Let me remind myself what this gameplay is like. But anyway, I loved Arcane. I loved it so much. I really enjoyed our talk. Please do check out our peer review with that. And as for Uncharted, I thought that was a good movie. I've never played Uncharted. It's always been on the kind of the backlist for me. And I hear good things about that game. I know a bunch of people that really enjoyed that game as a franchise. But Tom Holland as a young Nathan Drake, I just saw it as a kind of another action adventure film, Indiana Jones light kind of thing. So I thought it was okay, but it didn't really grab me. And it could be that it's because I don't have as much attachment, but Arcane was fantastic. And so I hope the audience agrees that Arcane is the best adaptation of 2022.
Excellent. So we're all in agreement. Arcane gonna grab best adaptation. Moving on.
No, do we want to talk about snubs?
One more.
This is more of a joke snub.
Do you have a snub? Okay.
It obviously wouldn't replace anything, but I know some other categories have 6 nominees, so it could at least slot in as an additional nominee. What about the Halo show? Not that I've watched it personally, but I know that's something that's come out.
I feel like that came and went, and no one talked about it. Which I think part of it was, where did it release? Was it on Peacock?
I think
exactly.
It was Paramount Plus.
It's Paramount Plus. Yeah, see, no one has that. And that I feel like that's the thing. If you look at all these things that are here, Cuphead Show, Netflix. Cyberpunk Edgerunners, Netflix. Arcane, Netflix. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Uncharted, already on streaming devices now. I could watch it right now if I wanted to. So I feel like Paramount Plus, honestly, I think that's a huge reason why people have not been talking about Halo. And unless you're huge into Halo lore, you were going to like that anyway, but you're not going to bring people in like Arcane did, you guys are into League of Legends, but I had a ton of friends who are not even gamers that were talking to me about Arcane, which was surprising.
Yeah, but also I want to say that the reception for Halo was very lukewarm at best, because honestly, people will, if they want to watch it, they'll get, if they hear word of mouth that it's fantastic, people will sign up. I mean, Alex and I do not have a subscription to HBO Max. Last of Us is going to come to HBO Max in January. Guess who's signing up for 3 months to watch that show?
I've got it.
This
it's
guy.
ready.
Yeah, that guy, and I'm going to use his login. So there we are. You know what I mean?
You guys can just move into my house. I've got extra, you can move into my house, and then we'll be a family, and you can watch HBO Max.
Oh, yeah.
You'll find it.
Totally legal Netflix.
Totally legal.
Yeah.
You would
we're talking about HBO
Max,
Max, Alex. We're talking about HBO Max.
Oh, my bad. HBO Max.
You don't even know which. Yeah.
You know what, Matt? We'll take you up on that offer. It's when you host, your Smash party. We're just gonna come here and smash in Last of Us.
Nice.
We'll just have the whole day. It'll just be 8 episodes of Last of Us, and then we'll go to.
Can't wait. All right, most anticipated game. These are huge games on the horizon: Final Fantasy 16, Hogwarts Legacy, Resident Evil 4, Starfield, and Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Newly announced name of that game. And, I'll go first, because honestly, there's 2 names on this list that stick out to me.
Oh.
Hogwarts Legacy and The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild 2, or now Tears of the Kingdom. Mm-hmm. I think these 2 are honestly in the front of my mind, and I want to go with Hogwarts Legacy so much that I think, I'm going to.
Whoa!
And I think that's going to be weird.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of, we've talked about in the past.
Yep.
There is stuff
Drama.
around Hogwarts Legacy that will take this away. But PlayStation has still done marketing. They have done views. Everything that comes out about Hogwarts Legacy,
looks so good.
I have multiple friends of mine, friends that are not even like super intense gamers going, dude, how do I play this? Like, do I need to get a PlayStation 5? Like, those are the conversations happening. Not happening to Legend of Zelda, honestly, which we haven't had as much happening with that. So for me, I'm going to go Hogwarts Legacy. I'm just going to follow my heart here. And if it doesn't get it, oh well. I'm looking forward to actually all 5 of these, so I'd be happy anyway. Tiffany?
Are you a Resident Evil player?
Resident Evil 4 is the only Resident Evil that I've played through, and I loved it.
Oh, okay.
Played it on the GameCube.
He loves
great.
smashing
where you
boulders,
That's right. That's right. The chainsaw, loved it. Yeah,
wow.
so
Okay. Honestly, Matt, my heart is joyous for your, belief in Hogwarts Legacy. But honestly, I think the people want some Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
That's a good point.
I think
Hear,
that's
hear.
what the people want. And I'm probably gonna play this game if there are no other games surrounding it. I have pre-ordered Hogwarts Legacy, and I am counting down. No, I'm not. Okay, guys, I'm not actually counting down the days. But I did pre-order the version of Hogwarts Legacy that allows you to play 2 days early. Because I was like, take my money and let me play early. So I'm ready for it. I'm so excited for it. It looks like such a good RPG to me. Like, I'm so excited to create my student and go through the grounds, create my own little room of requirement, do all the things, do all the side quests. Like, I'm so stoked for this game. I'm excited about Final Fantasy 16. Recently saw like a new trailer kind of talking more about or showing off more of the characters, but my heart's with Hogwarts Legacy. And I'm going to just say, Matt, when you said 2 games kind of stood out to you for this, I thought you were going to go Starfield and Legend of Zelda. So,
See, here's the thing. Starfield, they showed more of that game. And guess what? Many of us were like, eh.
Oh,
okay. No.
Okay.
Oh no. Does this need to be put back into the oven? Like, do they... And now it's to the point of, will they hit 2023? Maybe. Should they? Maybe not. Like, depending on how much they need in the oven. So I think if you took this a year ago, if Elden Ring wasn't a thing, because everybody was pumped about Elden Ring and won twice in a row for most anticipated game.
Right.
If you took that away, Starfield probably would have won last year. And because they've shown more and I don't like what they showed, I feel like Starfield's not going to happen for this. It's just a gut feeling.
Okay.
Alex, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking with my brain, it's going to be The Legend of Zelda. Because let's be honest here. People were just foaming at the mouth just for the name of this game. People were like, just tell me the name. I don't even need to see the gameplay. They're just like, we want to know the name. And then the Queen had to go and pass. And now Nintendo's like, we can't even show the video in the UK because of the name. So maybe Nintendo knew this was going to happen the whole time, and that's why they didn't reveal the name.
Are you saying that Nintendo was involved in the death of the Queen?
No. For the record, I'm
okay.
saying they're like seers, they can see the future. There was no implying any inclination that
they just
Nintendo
consulted
was
the Norns.
involved in that tragedy.
And then they
Alex?
picked the name Tears of the Kingdom, and they're like, you know who else has Tears of the Kingdom? England. That's who else has Tears of the Kingdom.
But obviously, I think for the record, Zelda's going to win it. But my heart tells me Final Fantasy 16. This is a game that's coming off of what Final Fantasy 15 tried to be. Final Fantasy 15 walked where
so that
16 will run.
Okay.
And I think this will be the best Final Fantasy we've had in a while, excluding, the critically acclaimed Final Fantasy 14, but compared to 13 and all of its many, sequel and its third installment, as well as 15. And also just the fact that it looks good. This is a return to fantasy Final Fantasy. It's not there, there's not a lot of technology here.
It's not cyberpunky.
Yeah, and also, and no cars, right? We don't have
Yeah.
vehicles. We're not going on
Or
a road trip.
steampunky. Yeah.
No bros, from
Yeah,
what
no
I know.
bros.
No
Well,
bros.
well, there's bros by honor, I guess, right? With the main character and the little boy.
Boo.
But,
We want cooking by a camp.
Yeah, exactly. I still haven't finished that game.
I know you haven't.
But yeah, 16 looks like it's gonna be a fun time. So I'm definitely excited. We're getting another one, and I think it looks great. Hopefully, it runs great because I know they've talked about they're in the polishing phases. So I can only hope it comes out and it's bug free.
I mean, do you guys think there's any snubs for this category? Like personal snubs? Because mine's here. Hogwarts Legacy.
I think, honestly, outside of this, just thinking about what I'm really looking forward to, I'm looking forward to Spider-Man 2. Like, I am looking forward to...
Yeah.
If you just give me... we're going to talk a lot more about God of War Ragnarok, probably even in this show. If you give me just more of Spider-Man, it's going to be a great game, and I'm going to enjoy just swinging around.
Yep.
And so, honestly, that's one of my most anticipated games next year if it does hit. So I could easily add it to this list, but I'm happy with this list. I'm highly anticipating all of them.
Yeah, it feels like they really nominated the ones that are almost for sure hitting next year. Minus Starfield, I guess. Speaking of Matt's concerns, but I would say then for me. And I know it's very far out, and it's not coming anytime soon. But Kingdom Hearts 4, shouting out Square Enix again. They announced it this year, obviously, or was it last year? I don't even remember anymore. But I know that game's not coming till 2025, so why would you put it on this list? But I feel like that gets a shout out. And, I'm there with Matt with Spider-Man 2, obviously. And also, I want to see the next Mario game. And I know that's kind of like weird because they can't put something that says untitled like Mario entry, but it's been so long since Odyssey, right? Odyssey and Breath of the Wild came out in the same year. And so now that Tears of the Kingdom's coming out next year, we have to be getting the next Mario, right? So I'm just waiting for that as well.
Yeah. Honestly, my favorite game of the Switch, still Mario Odyssey. Easy. So, talking about the Switch, perfect segue to Best Family Game, also known as Best Nintendo Game of the Year.
They really do need to update this category.
I know. It's so weird. And honestly, this is very strange to me. Like, their whole definition is like games that you can play as a family, like with a family. And I feel like Mario Party won last year, and it's like, oh, I wouldn't be playing with that with my family. Like, I would be killing my family. Like, I would hate my family after that. Nominees this year: Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, Mario and Rabbids: Sparks of Hope, Nintendo Switch Sports, and Splatoon 3. Tiffany, as our Nintendo guru, what are you feeling?
I like how you called me that, and I've played only one of these games this year. So
listen, you didn't need to disclose that. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So I played
That's
Kirby
more
and
than
Forgotten
me.
Land. That's true. That is more than you actually.
And it's more than me.
Kirby and the Forgotten Land, played it, very much enjoyed it, have not finished it, but honestly, like, it was very joyous. Like, I was playing it and having a great time. I do eventually want to finish it. It's something that, you can come back to. I think part of the reason why I kind of delayed a bit is I kept trying to, like, complete the worlds before I moved on. And so when you get to that point where you're just like, oh, I'm missing one star and I have to go back, like, it's not fun. So I really should just move forward, I've also like dabbled with the idea. I was like, Alex, you want to co-op with me? And he's like, but I'm going to be a Waddle Dee and do nothing. And I'm like, well, do you still want to play with me? So he's kind of on the fence with that. I do plan on eventually playing and purchasing Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga and Mario Rabbids: Sparks of Hope. Star Wars, the only reason why I didn't even grab this game on launch is really because of the fact that I have a backlog of Lego games. Alex and I forced Alex to play co-op with me with Lego. And we're in the midst of Lego Marvel Superheroes 2, which came out like 6 years ago. But we're like we try to do 100% runs on those. So we're just kind of like, we need to finish that one before we move on. Also, not gonna lie, you guys, like these games, like normally Nintendo is pretty much like a Disney brand where they really hold their merchandise to high value and they rarely go on sale or anything. But Lego Star Wars and Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope, 100% guaranteed they're at least going to get 50% off, in the next year. So that's another reason why I kind of held off. Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope, I've heard so much good things. So this is where I'm going to say I think that Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope is going to win. And to be honest, I think I want it to win. It sounds really fun. They kind of changed up the gameplay mechanics. Like you're not really tied down to a grid. And apparently the rabbits talk now, but it's like people seem to enjoy it. So I think Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope is going to do it. Splatoon 2, I really like the aesthetic, Splatoon 3. I really like the aesthetic, but I've just, it's just another kind of shooter game for me, and I'm not good at those. And Switch Sports, it didn't seem like a lot of love and care went into that game that Wii Sports did. So I kind of was like, eh.
It didn't even come with golf. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's not even out yet, I don't think.
But it's there. Alex, are you feeling Mario and Rabbids? What's your pick?
So yeah, as we mentioned before, I've not played any of these games, so very unqualified to speak on this category. But based on what I've seen, I've seen gameplay of all these games. I've listened to a lot of the online rhetoric about these games, and it feels like to me, I think, since I don't have a heart to place, and I'll just go with my mind on this one, Splatoon 3. I think really this is the game that has that combination of, you can play it competitively if you want to. There's a deep competitive scene to the multiplayer that people get really serious about, and I feel like that's great for those that want to pursue that angle. And then at the same time, there's even a single-player campaign if you just want to play it casually and just go through that. And also the concept is just very easy to grasp, right? It's shoot the enemy, but also just paint the territory your color. And I think that's something that's pretty fun about that, where you don't necessarily have to be quote unquote like killing your enemies, but also just prioritizing, hey, can I get my team's paint down, cover most of the map, and that's how you win, right? It's not even a kill based thing. It's who has the more percentage of paint on the map. So I think Splatoon 3 is probably going to take it. Also, I heard it has the biggest launch of any game in Japan. So I know Japan, or at least for the first week of sales. So I know Japan really likes it. Like, this is even more than Pokemon in Japan.
Wow.
So I'm like, Pokemon's not in this category this year to compete with it. So in that case, I feel like Splatoon 3 is going to take it.
Which is actually something that I have a big beef about. I think Pokemon Legends Arceus should be in this category.
100%.
And it's not.
100%.
And I'm offended. I should write Keeley a strongly worded letter.
Yeah. Listen, Jeff, why did you not spell your name normal? 1. 2, why is Arceus not here? Honestly,
yeah.
If Arceus was here, I would have picked Arceus.
Same.
Out of all of these. My feeling, and this is from not playing any of these, but just from hearing people on podcast talk and just like hearing the overall rhetoric, Kirby and the Forgotten Land really resonated with a lot of people, and I feel like beyond Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, I think Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope probably reviewed super well. The last one did too.
Yeah.
But I think that when you think back on the unofficial Nintendo game of the year, what is the Nintendo game that came out this year? I feel like people are just going to be like Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I just feel like that's going to be synonymous in their minds. So that's my guess. There's no rhyme or reason, honestly, to it. But yeah. We'll
also, I would like to correct my statement by blaming Jeff Keighley for the lack of Pokemon Legends Arceus. I realize that I should be mailing out.
You got to go full in.
I need to do 100 letters at all these media outlets that snubbed Pokemon Legends Arceus. So that's where I really need to put my efforts.
You might as well just write a letter to your senator too, while you're at it.
That's right.
And just go full in.
Yeah, full Karen. Full Karen.
That's right. So moving far, far away from best family game is best role-playing game. We have Elden Ring, Live Alive, Pokemon Legends Arceus, Triangle Strategy, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Alex, Which one? Which one speaks to you for best role-playing game of 2022?
Man, this is such an interesting category because
Really is.
It is.
of the games that were nominated for this, I'm like, wow, I guess the industry does have a wide variety of tastes. So I've only played one of these, that being Elden Ring, and Elden Ring is a great role playing game, but at the same time, while it does have great customization and progression, I feel like what I've seen and watched and heard about Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is that game is the pinnacle of that franchise. Much like Elden Ring is maybe considered the pinnacle of its, developer From Software. But I think, at least for my taste in games, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 has a lot more to it that while I haven't played it, I've seen a lot of it, and I think I can make the determination. I feel like that will win this category. Albeit, maybe people just say Elden Ring, but in my heart, I say Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Let's not forget that back in 2018, maybe, when Dark Souls 3 came out, Dark Souls 3, one of my favorite role-playing games of all time, came out. It did not win. You know what it lost to? It lost to the DLC of The Witcher 3, which is arguably a better role-playing game, but the DLC beat Dark Souls 3, but I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think Elden Ring, this is its year. I can't imagine a time when Elden Ring would not win best role-playing game. Like this, the amount of builds that I've seen on TikTok or YouTube that they can make these builds, I'm like, these people are playing a completely different game than what I was playing. Like, the amount of customization and just gameplay alone for Elden Ring is crazy to me. And someone who loves Soulsborne games, this is just peak role-playing game. I think this is Elden Ring's year for a lot of reasons, minus a huge God of War that might stand in its way. But I think that for best role-playing game, I think that this is its category. Even though, honestly, I've heard fantastic things about all these things, except Triangle Strategy. I've not heard one single person talk about that game. But beyond that, I've heard great things.
I have also only played one game, and here is my precious Pokemon Legends Arceus, but it's in this category to die. So I don't think it's getting nothing out of this, and it makes me sad. It's my personal, well, actually, yeah, it's my personal role-playing game of the year. But you know what, Matt? Your passion has really kind of like gone through the camera and the mic, and I think you swayed me. I think Elden Ring's gonna win this. Originally, I was leaning Xenoblade 3, because to be honest, I was like, I think people are gonna be like, well, at least it can win this category. But
yeah.
No, I think Elden Ring's gonna win it in here from the people.
From the people. So, moving right along. Best action/adventure game. Not to be confused with the next category, which is best action game. This is best action/adventure game. We have A Plague Tale: Requiem, God of War: Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Stray, and Tunic. I have played 2 of these games. I have plans to play A Plague Tale: Requiem. I have not played this version or the Horizon Forbidden West, though I've played parts at least of their predecessors. Stray I still have not played, and I guess maybe I should based on the rest of these noms later on in the show.
Yeah, for real.
But I have played God of War: Ragnarok and I have played Tunic, and honestly, at this point I'm the most naive to what God of War: Ragnarok is this year. Like, I've played maybe 6 to 8 hours, maybe 9 of God of War: Ragnarok, but I could tell you out of those 8 hours, it is the best adventure game that I've played all year. Easy. And it's the best adventure game that I've played since God of War 2018. Like, it is just more of the same of, like, this is what I think of when I think of an adventure game. So I'm happy to hear your guys' thoughts because, you guys have actually played a lot of the game. Tiffany, where are you leaning?
Wait, so do you think that God of War Ragnarok is going to win this one?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm with you. I want to know, like, how did Stray get in this category? Like, I'm so convinced. Like, I saw action.
Did you play Stray?
I have yet to play Stray. I have.
Has anyone played Stray?
Nope, not yet.
Nope.
Oh, man.
You know,
Okay.
honestly, Matt, it's like I think I should have bought that game on launch, because then I would have played it, and then I would have beaten it, and I would have moved on. But right now, it's just like in the mess of all these games coming out. So I haven't played, like, literally I've only played God of War Ragnarok. Tunic sounds really good. I've heard so much good things about Tunic, like a lot of good things. People are telling me play it and pay full price because it deserves every penny. And I'm like, dang, that is some high praise.
Yeah,
But
look at
I
that
think-
cute little fox.
But I think God of War Ragnarok is it. I'm audience. I'm shocked at how much I have enjoyed and am still enjoying God of War Ragnarok. I have put in about 23 hours into this game, and I've been living for the story. Like, I'm like, tell me what happens. Atreus, why are you being like this?
Boy.
You know, like, yeah, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, your father loves you, but I'm also like, Kratos, give him some space, you know? Gotta let him live his life. It's God of War Ragnarok.
Easy. 2 for 2. Alex?
You don't even need to ask me the question. It's God of War Ragnarok, baby.
That's
There
right.
we go.
I'll say this. I haven't played A Plague Tale or Tunic. I do intend on playing Stray, but I haven't played that yet either. I would like to give a shout out to Horizon Forbidden West because it is a great game as well, but I think for that story being an adventure, I think loses a lot in its design. So not to say I'm against open world games, but I feel like if Horizon had the benefit of how God of War is paced in terms of, you know, a little bit more linear, a little bit more kind of hub and spoke design, right, where you're going back to a base camp, you know, maybe upgrading and then going in one direction again for your next part of the story. I think maybe Horizon could have benefited from that, even though I do love hunting robotic animals in the wild. Like, what's greater than coming up over a hill and seeing a giant mechanical alligator, you know, sunbathing on the beachside? But yeah, I just think that the open world does Horizon a little bit of a disservice in that regard, and so therefore, you know, Ragnarok, you know, you think it's the end, but it's just the beginning of this franchise, right? A new beginning.
There we have it. 3 for 3. God of War Ragnarok. I thought for a second you were going to pull a fast one since you paused a little bit and you were going to do Horizon Forbidden West, but
It was a
I'm
dramatic
glad
effect, you know?
it worked. It worked for me. So moving on to Best Action Game, we have Bayonetta 3, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Neon White, Sifu, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge, I believe is what it's called, right?
That's correct.
I did not write Shredder's Revenge in my notes, so that was more of a question mark. Tiffany, out of these 5, did you play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
No, I want
What?
to, though.
Okay.
I feel bad, but that's one of the games I'm kind of waiting for a sale on, you know what I mean?
Got it.
Especially because, was it on Game Pass, Matt? Or no?
Maybe.
Oh,
It
okay.
sounds like a game that would be perfect for Game Pass,
Yeah, okay.
honestly.
Well, I mean, first of all, I do want to play it, but I'm only going to be playing it if I have crew to play with, you know, because this type of game
Crew?
isn't really for me to play solo. I've played none of these games, so I feel weird talking about it. But I do feel like I sort of have a lay of the land, so I think that people are going to vote for Sifu. I think that's where that's at. People loved Sifu when it came out. The concept seems really cool. I could never play because I wouldn't be that good. I'd just be like,
They have an easy mode now.
I'd be like 99 and then dead. You know what I mean? Like 30 minutes in. So I think Sifu's
I actually
where it's
think
at.
you die at like 75. I think
Yeah.
75 is
I
like
think
the
it's like
max age.
6. Yeah.
See,
it's
I'm like a
something
fake gamer. I don't even know. So that's
Can't even
where
live
that-
to 99. Classic.
Yeah, I can't even live till 99. So yeah, so I'm gonna throw
Maybe that's easy mode. You can live now to 99.
99.
That's the easy mode.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. So I mean, these games look cool. I hear a lot of good things about all of them. So
Alex, where are you leaning?
So I actually just tried out Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2's Warzone mode today,
Ooh, nice.
and which is, you know, free to play battle royale mode for Modern Warfare 2. And so I haven't played the game proper, And besides that, that's the most I've played of any of these games. But I would say even with that, from what I've heard, right? So all of these are just opinion. A lot of these are just gonna be opinions based on what I've seen online. I think it's gonna be Bayonetta 3. Despite
Oh,
kind of a lot of the
drama.
hullabaloo going around with the voice actress for Bayonetta and kind of the problems with payment and whatnot, we won't get into that here. But I think based on what I've seen, this is when you think action, this is the most stylish you can get, right? Like Bayonetta, Devil May Cry, things of these types of games are you want to do cool moves while also listening to awesome music. And I feel like Bayonetta 3 just, hits every nail on the head, right? She's got guns on her boots. She's wielding guns. She uses her hair as a weapon. It's got a modesty mode where if you're playing with the family, you can enable it. And when you do the hair moves, it covers up her body. So there's no sus looking images on the screen while you're playing this. So
That's hilarious.
this game is for everybody, including the kids that want to play something naughty in front of their parents. So I think it's gonna be bad.
Yeah, put this in best family game.
That's right. Sure. Best action game for me has to be Sifu. This is honestly, I'll be talking about this at the end of the year. This will 100% be there. So spoiler for all of you. Sifu is one of the most stylish games I've ever played. It has everything that is great about old school kung fu movies that I used to watch with my uncle. Like, this is it. This is it. One dude on a vendetta against a massive amount of people. Hand-to-hand combat. It is like an action movie. Everything is stylized to blocking or parrying or pushing people or picking up a club off of the ground. Everything is perfectly stylized to where it looks like one fluid action sequence. And to me, if I'm thinking about best action game as in something that you could make in a real life setting and make it into an action movie, that's Sifu to me. Like, this is like Born Supremacy just like happening, like the same moves. It's awesome. And I would honestly, for you all, if you're thinking about, hey, is there a smaller game that I could give a try before we do our top 6, give it a try, because there is an easy mode, and I've heard that they've done a lot to make it a little bit easier for people that may not be interested in like super hard difficulties. It's just awesome. It's really, really fun, and a pretty good story too. Pretty good story. So I got to go with Sifu. Heart and my head.
Excellent.
So, on to a pair of categories all about independent games. But first, we're going to be talking about best debut indie games for those studios that have just now released their first indie game. We have Neon White, Norco, Stray, Tunic, and Vampire Survivors. Alex, why don't you go first for us?
I think it's gonna be Tunic. Plain and simple. I mean, I haven't played any of these games either, but based on what I've seen in the reception, and also just looking at the game and what I've heard in terms of its design and also apparent difficulty, it being not the easiest game to play. I think it seems pretty incredible. I mean, it does a lot of things that are both risky with how it tries to tell you to play the game, right? With these weird, I guess, manual type pages you find in the game, but then at the same time, they're not in English. They have like a made up language like in the world of the game that you kind of have to learn by just picking up a bunch of these pages and kind of, I guess, comparing what the pages are trying to tell you in combination with the images. And so I think, yeah, even with that, right, what you might think is a high barrier to entry to even just learning how to play this game, people seem to love it. And I think there's a lot to respect out of that, to say like you can create something that's seemingly obtuse, but people can still learn how to play the game and beat it and not like complain to say, oh, this game's too hard, but it seems like it's just right. So I really think it's Tunic because it has that nice balance of risk, but also fun to play at least.
Yeah, Tunic definitely stands out for me. It was what, like 8 years in the making. It was something ridiculous. this one guy that just quit his job and just started developing this game, and he's been working on it for years and years and years. And I was on his listserv forever, waiting for a copy to try out. And I finally did a demo, and then it finally came to Game Pass, and I played it, and I really enjoyed it. It's classic Legend of Zelda, but to me, picking with my head, I think it's going to be Stray. Like,
Wow.
as much that Stray has been nominated, I think that it has made splashes, and I just don't know if it's just a ton of cat people are here and like ready, but I think that if you're thinking about this list, Stray is a AA game that is the closest to AAA in my mind. Like it is that close, and I think it's got the Sony budget behind it. You know, it's got the Sony umbrella, but still being an independent game, best debut. I kind of am going with Stray.
I actually think it's going to Tunic.
Okay.
Yeah, I've not played any of these games, but I've heard so much. I've heard so many good things about Stray and Tunic, so it kind of is hard for me to pick. But I think it's gonna go Tunic.
Okay. Well,
This
there
is-
we have it.
This is just a classic fox versus cat argument. You know, what's cuter?
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Sometimes foxes will eat cats. So, like, I don't know where that puts you. In
You
that
heard it here
category.
first. Tunic's gonna take it.
So moving on to best independent game. Just overall, we have Cult of the Lamb, Neon White, Sifu, Stray, and Tunic. This is a tough category for me because Cult of the Lamb, I have this like weird love-hate relationship with. I think it did a lot of things great. I think it was super buggy, but it is an independent game. And so should we really be weighing that so heavily? I think for me, I'm more disappointed in some of the snubs here than anything else. I'm like, where's Escape Academy? Because that game to me was one of my favorite independent games this year. Where is Tinykin? You know, that's one of my favorite indie games of the year. But if we're just picking this stuff like best independent game, I personally would go with Sifu because I enjoyed Sifu more. But I think that talking about the zeitgeist, Cult of the Lamb just took over when it came out. And I was part of that. Like, all three of us were part of that. And we all platinumed it fairly quickly because it just, like, took over. Very, very well. We'll say we all platinumed it. We won't disclose who did it. But Cult of the Lamb is my pick.
So, I actually haven't beat this game. I'm literally the final boss. Like the 4
Tiffany.
masters of the underworld I've beat, whatever. There's literally the final cave. Matt, I cannot tell you how buggy this game was for me. Like I put in like 40 plus hours. Maybe
40 hours.
Maybe 50. I don't know. I put in a lot of hours into this game. I was thriving in this game, but the amount of times it crashed on me, how I got stuck in the wall, how like
Oof.
I couldn't kill a bad guy because the bad guy got stuck in the wall, like it was insane how buggy it was. And I was like, I just got frustrated at one point. Like I couldn't progress. I basically had to wait for a patch at one point. And then I got it in my head. I was like, I'm gonna plat this game. I'm gonna freaking plat this game. And so then I started trying to go get like not get hit by the bosses, and then I was like struggling, and then I was not in a good place. Like I basically was like, I can't play this game. And so then I just like threw the controller gently on my charging station and then never finished it. Yep, that's kind of what happened. I mean,
That was the most like aggressive start to a sentence. You're like, I threw my controller gently into the charging station.
so it really didn't help that I ended up doing a lot of travel for work during the time that the game came out. So like I was like I need to get all the hours in that I can because I'm gonna be like away. You know, because I decided to get on PlayStation. I didn't get on Switch, which honestly, I'm thankful that I got on PlayStation because I heard it was even buggier on the Switch. Yeah. So I think Cult of the Lamb's gonna win.
Okay.
I think it's gonna win this debut indie because you're right. There was a zeitgeist. The whole Twitch streaming thing sounded really cool. I named 2 of my first not villager. What are they called? Cultists were named Matt and Alex.
And then we died.
Yeah.
Yeah, except Alex was I resurrected Alex because it was sad, and then now, but like now he like could never die. Matt, it was like the weirdest thing. I did eventually bring you back too. I eventually
Oh, thank
brought
you. Thank you. I'm glad you didn't like harvest me into manure or something.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
I was
feed
about
you
to be
my
like,
masses.
this is about to get real awkward.
Yeah.
I kept you dead.
Yeah, no.
I didn't even bury you.
Yeah. No. Yeah, there's just vomit piles all over your dead body.
Oh my god.
I guess you could just leave the body there, right?
Yeah, but then people would constantly be vomiting.
Oh, that's one small price to pay,
I literally was like, if it makes you sick, don't go there, Sally. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Jesus.
I like how they like went way around the corner. They would like vomit in like the weirdest place. I'd be like, where is this vomit at? And it's like some far off corner. They've like designated that corner as the vomit corner.
Yeah.
Like, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, Alex, are you into the Cult of the Lamb?
It sounds like I'm at the point where I need to break this tie. And in this case, I have to side with the one who was dead. And that's Matt. And I'm voting for Sifu. I think.
Okay.
Oh, I voted for Cult of the Lamb. We both voted.
Oh, you voted for? Oh, I thought you voted for Sifu.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, his heart voted for Sifu.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I'm siding with your heart then, which is cold and dead. I think Sifu does a lot, as Matt mentioned, for best debut indie, and I still feel like it applies here for just best indie, where Slow Clap, they did Absolver before this game. I know one of my good friends, he really loved it. That was more of I would, safe to say it's like a Souls-like martial art game where you would beat enemies in the field, and the enemies you beat, you would learn the moves that they knew. And so it was this kind of like cool move learning, like hopscotch style of like every time you beat someone new, you would be able to learn like one of the techniques that they knew, and sort of like you created your own style, which is like this combination of techniques. And I feel like they translated that martial arts fantasy very well into Sifu, right? As Matt mentioned, with a great kind of story about vengeance or revenge, and just great imagery, right? Especially with all the bosses like being represented by different elements. And so like seeing those transitions during the fights was really interesting. And I think it just gives you that very kind of small scope yet great ambition. And I think that's what I want to see in a good indie, is that they're looking to push the boundaries within their budgetary constraints, right? Within their talent and time constraints. They don't have the backing of a AAA publisher, throwing millions of dollars at them to get this thing out the door. And so even though I do respect Cult of Lamb, I feel like, there's just one too many bugs for my liking. That game went through a lot. And I thought that the combat loop got kind of overly repetitive. Even as you unlock new weapons, it was still kind of the typical hit, dodge loop. And so, my vote's for Sifu on this one.
All right. Moving on to... Now we're starting to get, like, the last four are pretty heavy hitters. Best art direction. We have Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Scorn, and Stray. Tiffany, where's your heart and your head telling you to vote?
Honestly, okay, this is gonna be like wild, right? I think the audience is gonna do it. I think they're gonna choose Stray. Like I think art direction is Stray. It's so like Matt's shaking his head at me.
I hope not, but okay, go ahead.
No, I think it's Stray. I think it has a very unique, like, futuristic sci-fi look to it. The cat looks really good. The cat's gonna cat. Like, it's doing its thing. The robots are there. The environments look pretty cool. This is all from, footage of reviews and YouTube and stuff. I think it's gonna be Stray. I think that Horizon Forbidden West, I think, is a pretty high contender for this too. Again, with like the robot dinosaurs and all that stuff. But I think that this is a category. Like, I feel like Stray's in a lot of categories, and it probably won't win a lot, honestly. And I kind of think it might win this one. It might surprise us, I think it's going to be Stray.
Oof. That would be wild. Alex, what do you think?
I want to start off with some snubs, because it's been a while since I mentioned a
Love
snub.
it.
I think two snubs here, from Square Enix, Live Alive, and Triangle Strategy. And so I know a lot of people out there might not be the biggest fans of, pixel art
Yep.
I know Tiffany herself isn't a fan of a lot of pixel art, albeit maybe she
Correct.
does enjoy the HT 2D at least. And I
I
feel
do a
like just
little.
the way that they've presented those games feels like a great modern take on pixel art. It looks, the lighting is great. Like visually, they're able to add a lot of effects to it where despite there being 2D sprites, at least the world looks a lot more lively, right? Because of the lighting, because of the visuals you can apply to it. And so I feel like that those should have at least one of them, whether it was Live Alive or Triangle Strategy got a nomination here. But besides that, art direction, I'm a sucker for landscapes. Yes, you can have good character design, but I want to live in these worlds, right? When you play a game, I think it's the environment that means a lot more than the character itself. And in that case, for me, it has to be Horizon Forbidden West. This is a post apocalyptic take on the Western United States, Nevada, Arizona, California. And they just do a great job with kind of reimagining what these places would look like in 1,000 years, past, with the rising tides, with, increased droughts happening in the American Southwest. Like, it's such a inspiring look to say, oh, potentially this is what America might look like without humanity in 1,000 years. And I think it's just something like great to look at, being able to just stop playing. And it's one of the few games where I just stood still and looked at the environment. And I feel like it's very rare that actually happens to me. As great as Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok look when I played those games, I never had those moments. I never just stopped and looked around. And so I think with that, Horizon Forbidden West takes it for me.
Yeah, I really want to play Horizon Forbidden West. I've seen screenshots to where I know what you're talking about, though. Like, it looks like a pretty game. For me, my favorite art direction is not on this list. My favorite art direction of this entire year was Tinykin, a small indie darling that got no love at the Game Awards, probably because it's criminally underplayed. That art direction, while it's not the best graphics do not equate art direction in my book. And so art direction is very independent of that, and I think Tinykin would have wiped the floor with all these guys if everyone played it. But for me, the thing that made me go wow the most so far has been Elden Ring. Like, it is the moment when you were going into an underground cavern, you're thinking that this is going to be dark, dingy, maybe like stalactites or whatever, stalagmites, whatever the heck they're called, that I used to know what the difference were between
I
the two
think
of them.
tights are from the top and mites are from the bottom.
Got it. You expect that. You expect bats. You expect all these things. But no, underneath the whole world that you're playing in is a whole nother forest. And above that forest is a starry night that looks gorgeous. It is just very imaginative. All the character designs, the NPC designs, enemy designs, boss designs, all of them are beautiful. This is definitely the best Soulsborne game to look at. And that's saying a lot because most of the Soulsborne are very stylistic. And so I think Elden Ring is definitely my favorite to go, and I think it has a good shot here. And that's not to say like Scorn is one of those. Dark horse right here, because it's supposedly a gross game because of the art direction. But if there's something that Scorn has that I've heard of, it's their art direction. So maybe it's going to get it. But I think for me, Elden Ring is my one to beat. So
yes, Scorn's got a lot of phallic imagery.
Oh my god.
Symmetry.
Symmetry. I meant imagery, phallic imagery, or symmetry too. I don't know.
That's up to you to decide, audience. So, best narrative. We have A Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, and Immortality. Alex, where do you land?
Ah, man, there's no question about it. It's God of War Ragnarok. I cried many times playing this game. There
Really?
are many moments that really hit me harder than I thought they would.
Wow,
And
okay.
I really feel like if it's something that can get me to cry, that has a impactful narrative for me. Because typically for a lot of games, Fall Guys, I ain't crying at Fall Guys. I might be raging, at my bad teammates, but there's no crying there.
We're sitting right here, man. You don't have to talk about us like that.
I know.
And Elden Ring, same thing. I'm not crying at that game. I might be raging, at this boss is too hard, or I totally didn't get hit by that boss attack or whatever, but there's no feels there. I think for me, what a good narrative makes me feel is both the highs and the lows. And there's just so many highs in Ragnarok and equally as many lows. I haven't played Immortality or A Plague Tale Requiem, but if those games made me feel the same way, I could maybe see those in the running, but I know Ragnarok for sure made me feel it, so that's why it's my pick.
I think, well, I do feel bad about this because I've only played God of War Ragnarok, but I think that it has a fantastic story. I think this is the one to win this category.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like really surprised at how much I'm very much enjoying playing this game. It took me a very long time to finish the first God of War. Part of me realized I think it's because I actually knew all the story, and I played it years after its release. Alex had regaled me with the tale of that game essentially in 2018 because he was raving about how much he really enjoyed it, and he kind of told me the plot line. And then as a few years go by, we're like hearing that Ragnarok is coming. I listened to some spoiler casts about it because everyone loved the first God of War, and then I was like, you know what, let me play this myself. Played it, took like a year to actually finish playing it, but this game has me like it's grabbed me. I'm like staying
enthralled.
Late. I'm enthralled. I'm staying up late playing this game. I am like, oh, it's 10:30. I should probably go to bed, but you know what? I can play an hour. 3 hours later, I'm like, oh, I should really go to bed. I just keep playing because I want to know what's gonna happen, and I love talking to Alex after I hit some milestones. And like telling him like, oh, I got to this part. This is where I stopped. And he's like, oh, what'd you think about this? I was like, dang, I did not expect that. It like being able to play this game like with people has been really. I think that's one of a really good memory. Like this is one of my favorite memories now. Like just to be a part of the zeitgeist of it. It's been a long time since I've played a game like that. Well, I guess Cult of the Lamb was the last one, but yeah, Matt, this is a game.
Yeah, I'm excited to keep playing it. Even with just 8 hours, I know that this is going to win Best Narrative. Like, the amounts of people, non-spoilery, talk about how this is just a continuation of 2018. 2018 was one of the best stories, which I did not get spoiled. So it was awesome to play that anew. As soon as I got a PS5, I had God of War 2018 in the PS5 collection, and it was awesome to play that. And so I have high hopes for God of War Ragnarok, so I'm blindly picking God of War Ragnarok, even though I would say the story so far hasn't been crazy. It's been kind of what I've been expecting up to this point, because I'm so, early on in the game. But I'm expecting great things, because even certain character developments have already shown themselves, and I'm like, I like where they're going with this, so I'm expecting more of the same. So good on them. I hope they win. They deserve it. Best game direction, second to last one for us tonight. We have Elden Ring, with the studio being From Software, God of War Ragnarok from Sony Santa Monica, Horizon Forbidden West, Guerrilla Games, Immortality, Half Mermaid, and Stray, Blue 12 Studio, and Annapurna. I love that Annapurna developed Stray. That's great. For me, best game direction, this is just me going on a hunch. I think that this could be so many different games. I think in my heart of hearts, I think From Software has been one of the best game studios ever. I think Sony Santa Monica is definitely in the running, especially in there. I hope they get their roses, but I think for best game direction, I think Elden Ring is going to get it. I think From Software is such a heavy hitter, and they keep consistently making it a Soulsborne game, which has now become a genre of its own because of their studio and them saying, okay, that's nice, let's make it open world. All of us going, what? How could you possibly, like, the whole point of Soulsborne games is a linear adventure, and for them to make it an open world and for it to work is crazy to me. And so I think the flowers should definitely go to From Software, because the game direction to make that work and to make it enjoyable and to make it one of the best games of the year, definitely should get their flowers. So going with Elden Ring for best game direction. Tiffany.
I think I'm going to go with Elden Ring here. It talks about innovation in game direction and design. I've heard so many good things with Elden Ring. I'm glad this game exists. It's honestly really like I'm trepidatious to even trying that game because
Mm-hmm.
of what I know and what I know that I don't like and like in video games. But I think everyone's like raving about it. They talk about how innovative it is. I think Elden Ring's gonna win this category.
I've snubbed them all night, and at some point, you'd think I'd be crazy not to give them a win in some category. And I agree with my co-hosts here. I think best game direction will be Elden Ring. In playing this game, I'm not the biggest Soulsborne fan, not for any particular reason, but I just typically don't play those games. But having played Elden Ring, having played with Matt, having played with some of my other friends, having gotten the platinum in it, I think this game has done a lot of things well and definitely has pushed, I guess, open world games in general in a very smart direction. I think for me, it I guess started with the current generation of games with Zelda Breath of the Wild pushing the open world and how that innovated on it, like just the design of saying it's an open world, but we're really giving you the freedom to go and progress this game how you want. And I think Elden Ring just takes that a step further and further iterates on that to say, yeah, it is an open world and you can literally go wherever you want and still make it to the end of the game and just stumble upon it. It's not spoilery in any way. It just, you might end up somewhere by taking a random portal and suddenly you're in a whole new place where
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get one shot by enemies, but if you can make it through it, that just might be how you get to the end of the game and roll credits. And I think that really is innovative to say you can play, there's no wrong way to play this game, build wise, path wise, like you can go anywhere, play how you want, and as long as you beat the bosses and get to the end to roll credits, that's great. And I feel like that is very accessible in that way because even for me, just to shout out one of the things they did with their multiplayer, each I guess zone has what they call a summoning stone, and you can put down your sign and get summoned into another player's world that to play co-op and to help them. And so what I would do is when I got to a new place that I didn't know, I would put my sign down so I'd be summoned into some other person's world where I would help them while at the same time learning the area myself. And when you die as a visitor in their world, you don't lose any of the runes you collect. So then I would take both the knowledge and literal experience back with me to my world, level up, get stronger, and use my knowledge to then progress through the zone myself. And so that's something that really eased the anxiety for me to say, I really don't want to die here because if I die in some hard place, right, it's going to be hard to get back there to get your experience again. So I really appreciate just even that simple function to say, hey, it's a multiplayer game and you can play it like this. And I really enjoyed that, on top of everything else. So I think they're going to take it.
Excellent. Excellent, excellent. And so the time has arrived for us to talk about Game of the Year, the big one. We have A Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Stray, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Tiffany, looking at this list, one, I want to know what your game, not your Game of the Year, what you think will be Game of the Year via this one outlet, aka the Game Awards. But two, Are you surprised by anything on here? And do you think they missed anything?
I'm really shocked that Stray is on this list.
Okay, good. I'm glad it's not just me.
I was like, is there that many cat people? Like, what is going on? And, honestly, seeing it here, I'm like, I need to play this game before the year is over.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this game, it's been downloaded on my PlayStation for a month and a half. Like, I haven't booted it up. But, dude, this is hard. I think this is hard. I think this year it's always been like Elden Ring's going to be GOATY. Elden Ring is going to be GOATY, but, we got to wait till Ragnarok comes out. We got to wait for it. I'm like really into God of War Ragnarok. Like I'm really in it. So absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. I think God of War is gonna win. I think God of War
This is
gonna
tough.
win.
Yeah, this is tough.
I think it's gonna win. I do have to say though that my personal GOATY is not on this list, but we can talk about that in another episode. But yeah,
Excellent.
I think God of War Ragnarok is gonna win, and I'm gonna try my hardest, my darndest, to finish this game before December 8th, and see if I can like rejoice with everyone or be like flipping a table. I don't know. Who knows? I won't actually flip a table.
Down in some mead.
All these games are great games from what I've heard. So honestly, but I think it's gonna be God of War. I think it's gonna be God of War.
Alex, you have played the most out of all these games. Where do you lie on who you think the people in the media are going to vote for Game of the Year?
Oh, man. I feel like, I hope there's a second question there. I feel like for what the media is going to pick, honestly, it will be Elden Ring.
Okay.
I think, literally looking at the category title, that this is Game of the Year, I think, honestly, Elden Ring is the best game of these, 6 nominated. But when we look a little closer, and as Tiffany pointed out, how the Game Awards describes this category, recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. And for me, I underline it here because while I think the community and the media will pick Elden Ring as the best game, and it will deserve it, I put more emphasis on best experience. And because of that, for me personally, it's God of War Ragnarok. While as a game it might not be as good as Elden Ring, I think as an experience it's leagues above it, just from the character development, just from how the gameplay is incorporated into the story, and also just the story itself. I know both of you haven't finished it yet, but there's a lot to this that I hope both of you can finish this before the Game Awards roll around, just so you can understand, especially for the best narrative category. But to see that, this is a story that really digs down deep, and not to say that Elden Ring doesn't have a great story, that I think Elden Ring does great storytelling in its world building, right? Like you go to these places, you can see them ravaged by what happened, right? But I think when you're going through those places, it's not the same as experiencing the story with these characters, right? Going on the journey with these characters. And so I think it's that combination of game and narrative that really brings it home for me. So personally, Ragnarok, but critically and publicly, I think it's Elden Ring.
So officially for our vote, which one were you going to
I guess, you said it was for what I think the media is going to pick, or what will win game of the year for the Game Awards. I think that's Elden Ring.
Okay, fair. So this is tough because you have a few different reasons why I could see it go a different way. Like I think God of War Ragnarok definitely has recency bias because it's fresh on the mind. Everything seems so great compared to early in the year where we had Horizon Forbidden West, where we had Elden Ring. At the same coin, you have 3 PlayStation IPs right there. You have God of War, you have Horizon Forbidden West, you have Stray. Whether or not that takes part of that vote, To me, what I think deserves Game of the Year for this category, I gotta go with Elden Ring. This is something that ever since Breath of the Wild came out, people have started talking about every open world game as, well, this took some keys and some notes from Breath of the Wild. Like every single review about any open world game, and I think that there has been now a turn away from that. And now the new standard is Elden Ring. I think as far as an open world that lives in an open world that is interesting, I think Elden Ring brings that innovation to the point of, I think it has to be Game of the Year. Like, this is something that I think will have repercussions for years to come. While I think that God of War Ragnarok, I completely understand what you're talking about, because I'm really enjoying 8 hours. Like, probably more my first 8 hours than my first 8 hours of Elden Ring. Probably easily. But that to me is, I think this is going to be a great story. I think it's going to be a great game. But like, what is going to be the impact? And that's coming from someone who has not played as much as you guys. So maybe I'm, false in saying that. But for me, I think Elden Ring, just like if you look at the Elden Ring subreddit, it's crazy. These people are like going to bat. Like they are going to name their first child Tarnished. That's going to be a family name now everywhere, because these people are crazy about Elden Ring. So I think the people are going to make their voice heard in the media, and I think Elden Ring's going to walk away with it. Whether or not that'll be my Game of the Year or not, I think honestly God of War Ragnarok is going to make it very, very interesting when it comes to our top 6. So there you have it. We went through 12. Probably the 12 best categories to talk about. Ton of fun. I had a ton of fun talking through all these things, and we'll see how we do when Tiffany wraps all this up for us and figures out who wins. We didn't even bet anything.
Don't put that evil on me. What?
Listen, I don't make the rules. This is what the people want.
If you had told me, I would have literally kept track while recording.
No, it's okay. No, I'll tally it when I listen through everything. But if you want to let your voice be heard to us, reach out to us on our Twitter at RXP_podcast. You can email us at rxp.podcast@gmail.com. Or you know what? Find us on YouTube. Subscribe. We're at RXP Podcast. We are there. We are ready to share all of our good videos. If you want to stick around to listen to our top 6 games and then top 6 other media, that's going to come in later this year. It's a ton of fun. We always have a great time talking through that stuff, so stick around and listen to it. But other than that, we will see you next time, and a big shout out, as always, to Grandmaster Doug for some fresh tunes. Yeah, listen, Jeff. Why do you not spell your name normal?
He loves smashing boulders,